Hello and welcome to the Redvee TV Show, supported by Chapel House Cars for the 2025 season as we look ahead to another weekend of Super League and Saints in particular. Once again, back by popular demand, Peter Elder joining me. Listen, you got a lot of love last week, Peter, while I was away. Dave can't join us tonight, so called you in as a super sub. You can be whichever super sub you want to be, whether it's James Roby, whether you're more football related and you go Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or David Fairclough. Your choice.
Well, it's not going to be John Bennison, unfortunately. As a super sub, but in that case, I'd be very much unused. But lovely to be back. Thanks for having me again. I was enjoying being on last week and after the game on Friday night as well. So it's probably the COVID season, of early 2021. The last time I did at least 3 in a row. It's not bad, is it? Yeah, it's not bad. But we'll see how this one pans out tonight. I'm sure we'll cover all the necessary subjects.
Well, we'll see
with our usual.
Yeah, we'll see because I'm currently got technical problems, but we'll see how we go with it. We'll motor through as much as we can.
Yes.
And see where we go with it. But yeah, as you say, you were down for the Hull FC game. I'm not going to go too much back onto that one, but it was good to get the win, really, wasn't it? When obviously we were not exactly at our best.
No, very much not. Defensively, I thought we were pretty good out with the tries. I know all teams will say this about all tries, but both very much preventable. Obviously, made a couple of errors that got us back in the row line, and then the controversial, was it a shoulder contact on Harry Robertson? But the fact is, we lost the ball on our own line and they scored, and then Kyle felt kind of jumping out the line unnecessarily for the second try. But listen, we got the job done. It wasn't pretty. We probably had chances to put the game to bed and be a little more clinical. But it was ever thus. But we got the job done, and as Wello said, I think we mentioned that last week, it probably did us a bit of good, although time will tell, to have a kind of hard, close-fought battle where we're going to have to maybe forgo playing a lot of flashy rugby and just win regardless. I know a lot of people say, well, we've only played flashy rugby against the minnows, if you like, of the division. But, at this time of the season, it's win however you do it. I think with the absentees this week, that might very well be the case anyway.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think once you get into this part of the season, it's win, and it doesn't matter by how many or how you win. We all want to see great rugby, but it doesn't always work like that. As you allude to, missing a couple. Show this week, I've called it Wello's Wingless Wonders. Nice bit of alliteration there for you. And you like obviously immediately mentioned Kyle Felt. I feel before I speak about them, I feel like I may need to apologise a little to Kyle Felt because the big news was that our 2 starting wingers from the past couple of weeks are missing on Friday, and we'll get to that a little bit more as well in the squad news. But Owen Dagnall, obviously grade 3 hamstring too. We saw him pull up. Never looks good when somebody does that. But the one that we all kind of missed, and why would you look for it, was Kyle Felt, who actually failed a HIA after the game due to delayed symptoms, I suppose. And that possibly kind of, as you say, shoots out the line. He misses what looks like an easy penalty attempt as well. It probably is some mitigation for that unfortunately, Kyle was under the effects. And when all's said and done, an NRL import like that is going to be a big miss this week.
100%. I mean, you're obviously right. Perhaps that's when the symptoms were starting to kick in, because the penalty certainly should have got. Now, as bad as this might sound for Kyle, if he was going to have symptoms and have an HIA, in terms of Saints last week, it was probably better, as cynical as it might come across. that it happened after the game, because if we'd lost him during the game, having also lost Owen, we may well have struggled to see the victory out. But obviously we hope that it's only 1 week for Kyle and he's doing the right thing, and the doctors are doing the right thing, standing him down for this week. Obviously, it's not a great situation for Owen Dagnall as well. We wish him well, but it looks like his season, the same as Lewis Murphy's, is pretty much over now. And obviously, the other wingers, T. Ritson, his season's over as well, been playing at Barrow. Penny for John Bennison's thoughts. I did allude to it in the intro. When you're the other 4 senior wingers at Saints are injured, and we don't, without kind of giving away the 21 that you're about to reveal, we don't recall them to make the 21. If anyone had any lingering doubts about John Bennison's future at Saints, I think those are probably dispelled now.
Yeah, I agree with that, because Paul Whelan's press conference earlier today, he was very coy. He was asked about John Bennison's future, and he wouldn't make a comment on it. It was all there are discussions behind the scenes, and decisions have to be made sooner rather than later. We're in late August now. Season only lasts for everyone until October. That decision will have been made already. And as you say, I think that the fact that it speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, and I feel for the guy. I mean, it sounds like I'm being very, very critical of him here. John Bennison is an excellent rugby league player. There's no doubt in that. Whether he's Saints level is open to question, but I think he would certainly do a job in Super League, perhaps for one of the teams coming up next season, or a Cass, a Huddersfield. The boy has talent, there's no doubt about it. He's had a tough time, he's made mistakes, and he's been a young player trying to learn the game in the full glare of publicity. And don't forget, he was a try scorer, a grand final winner in 2022 as well. So he has made a massive contribution to Saints, there's no doubt about that. But when Saints have struggled, he's perhaps at times had issues with his own confidence, which is understandable. He's still a young guy, but wherever he ends up next year, we wish him well. I say I'll always be grateful for his performance in the 2022 final. I thought he was excellent. That day, remember, I think him and Will Hopewati were kind of swapping between full back and wing. So not only playing a grand final, but switching positions depending on whether we had the ball or Leeds had the ball, which isn't an easy gig. So fair play to the guy, and I wish him nothing but success in his future career.
I think it's very important to say that, because as fans, I mean, you see on social media people are critical. You see on this, we're critical as well, giving opinion. It's never anything personal. No. And I think John Bennison is doing himself the world of good at Wingless, showing his professionalism. You only have to see his try that he scored at the weekend against Featherstone for him to obviously be aware that the hooter might have gone, but the referee hasn't brought the game to a halt. Yeah. So he's carried on while the Featherstone fullback's trotting off the pitch. And then Featherstone fullback does that little dad run, kind of, oh, yeah, I'm not making that, am I? And Bennison goes 80 metres. And I think it kind of shows everything that you've said there. And I am going to put you in the same company as Christian Wolff, who said that he is that type of player. He is that type of player who will work hard. And even though he might not be the quickest, he might not be the biggest, he might not necessarily be the most skillful, you're going to get a good, honest pro there. Whoever takes him on, whether he ends up at Widnes next year, whether he ends up in the Championship, or, as you say, one of the teams coming up into Super League, you're going to get a player who is worth the jersey. It's unfortunate it hasn't worked out as well as he might have hoped at Saints. But that's sport, isn't it? We all see our favourites go. We all see the lads that we kind of want to see do well come through and go as well. It's not that often that you get times where everyone stays together as a unit. You've always, especially in the salary cap sport as well, you're always going to lose people, because there are people like Owen Dagnall, like Harry Robertson, like George Whitby, all coming through and pushing those players who are ahead of them to say, I want your jersey now. It's time for you to step aside. It's my goal now.
Yeah, that's it. And I think as well with John Bennison, and it's, you know, as a Saints fan, you always want to see the young guys coming through and making it. You really, really root for them. And I think sometimes as fans we perhaps judge them too harshly. Like I think back as a Motherwell fan, 20 years, young lad coming through, James McFadden, who came on to do rather well. But all the young players that came through the system after that were judged against him. And when no, there's very few players were as good as Faddy. And it's, you look at like John Bennison, who closely followed onto someone like Regan Grace. Now, Regan's a generational talent. So not all young wingers coming through the system after him are going to have the same amount of talent. So perhaps we're looking through the lens of, oh, Regan Grace was good. Why isn't John Bennison like that? He's his own player, you know, and it's harsh to judge him against, as I say, such a talent as Regan Grace. But we have to be, as you say, we have to be honest and give our opinion. To retain any sort of integrity, we have to be honest. I think obviously any criticism as well has to be kind of considered and not kind of fly off the handle and be wild and, you know, make kind of false accusations or decry players personally. But I think we can be honest and say John Bennison's going to be a really good player. But I'm sure he will find his level without that's not being unkind to him. He's a far better player than anybody on here and anybody watching this. And I hope he does really well, because he has had some bright moments at Saints. His debut at Salford when he scored that try, wonderful moment. As I say, the grand final, forever, he is one of Saints' grand final winners, and no one can take that away from him.
Correct. He's won more grand finals than me and you put together. Just the other side of that graphic there, just showing what's on this week. Obviously, there's a curtain raiser ahead of the first team's game over at Hull KR. The Academy are playing over there. So if you are in Hull early, you can get into Craven Park and watch the Academy take on the Robins counterparts. The women's team have 2 home games this week, both against York. One at the Totally Wicked Stadium for the women's first team, one at Blackbrook Rugby League Club for the Academy. And it would be remiss of us not to mention Channy Crowell, who made her 100th appearance for the Saints women's team last weekend. Marked it with a try. The first woman to do so, not score a try, make 100 appearances, obviously.
Yeah.
That's a great achievement, and something which obviously income we're going to hope we look back as on the women's team as these are the forebearers of a growing sport. And Channy is one of those who will go down in history, obviously, as someone with that appearance record.
Absolutely, and it's a fantastic achievement, and some lovely wholesome content as well after the match with her family, you know, in the changing rooms as well, celebrating the moment with her. She's been an absolute rock, a constant in that Saints team that's been so successful over the past few years, and I think her impact will only be felt, you know, when she kind of moves on or retires, hopefully not for a while yet, but she's been an absolute colossus, and someone that young aspiring girls that want to take up rugby league can look to as an example. To see, you know, what can be achieved with just sheer hard work.
Moving on from what is on this week, we'll go to the men's first team. The squad announced, obviously, Sean of Kyle Felt and Owen Dagnall. Right. Is this an easy choice for Paul Wellens with the fact that John Bennison has not been recalled from witness? Is this an easy choice for Paul Wellens with regards to his wingers?
Well, I think so. I've seen a few different opinions across social media today, but I did see someone who completely agreed with myself. I can't remember the fellow's name, but I think in this situation, you want to make as few changes as possible. You're already having to change both your wingers. So people say, move Harry Robertson to wing or move Percival to wing. Keep the centre partnership as it is for me. And I would have Tristan on the right wing and Dion Cross on the left wing. Both can play there. And it keeps the centre partnership solid. Obviously, it means Johnny starts again at 6. For me, the pack stays as is. The only difference would be is who you have on the bench. People might say, well, you could have George Whitby there to cover in case of any more injuries in the backs. For me, I have Jake Burns to give Darrell Clarke a proper spell, because I think the type of game that it's going to have to be, we are going to have to be as a pack very energetic, tremendous, incessant, constant line speed in defence and carrying hard. So your hooker's going to have to do a mountain of work. That's why I would have Jake in the bench to give Darrell maybe, let's say, even 15 minutes rest. So that's what I would do. I'll be interested to see what the Kev Pender opinion may be.
Well, I want to go back to why you'd have Tristan on the right wing and Dion on the left, because if I was doing that, and it is, I would put them two on the wings. I'd actually put Dion on the right to defend alongside Robertson, and I'd have Tristan out on the left alongside Mark Percival. So both have got a more experienced player for that position. So Dion Cross has played an awful lot on the wing, and Harry Robertson's a capable enough defender, but it's just solidifying sides. That's potentially what I'd go with. But I'm interested to know, is there a reason why you go Sailor right, Cross left?
I think it's just Tristan played right wing early in the season. Dion Cross, certainly when he's played at centre, seems to be more of a kind of left-sided. So I think it's maybe just balance and familiarity. Both are played slightly out of position, but if they can play out of position, but in an area of the field where they do have, I say, some degree of familiarity, it might make the kind of the cohesion in the back line a bit more solid. But I take your point as well in terms of pairing up experience with less experience. Perhaps the Robertson Sailor right edge might come under a little bit of pressure, but then that then you're looking to maybe have maybe put Cyril to right, kind of the right hand side to defend there to give them a kind of a big unit to help them out. But I think both options are equally valid, in fairness.
I think at the minute as well, Wello keeps mentioning Robertson on the wing and Whitley into centre. Do you think he's just doing that to kind of put doubts into the whole KR mindset of who's going to be there, or do you think it is potentially a serious option?
It's possibly an option, although personally, this is only my opinion. I hope it's a bit of a smokescreen, a bit of a red herring, because then you're making changes to the back row, or the second row, I should say, in the pack that you don't necessarily have to. I would keep the positional changes to a minimum as much as we can. We're already having to change the back line significantly. So moving Harry out to centre and putting Matt Whitley there when you've got guys there that can play centre already seems a bit of an unnecessary kerfuffle, for the want of a better word. It would be making it harder for ourselves than we possibly need to be. However, if that's the team Wello goes with and we end up winning, then it'll put me firmly in my place, and I'll be the first man to say it. But right now, my thoughts are, right now, I'd be saying, let's go down a more pragmatic, perhaps obvious route in this one.
Yeah, I think it's probably because we've got a little bit more options, a few more options. Sorry, terrible English. In the second row, obviously Curtis Siren and Joe Batchelor, James Bell, Matt Whitley, all likely options, rather than not mentioning Jake Davis, potentially Leon Cowan as well in the. Yeah, I don't think they're going to be involved at weekend. You've got a couple more options. It's a tough one, and as you say, Jake Burns on the bench is a great shout to kind of spell Darrell Clarke. Darrell Clarke could easily do a little stint at 13 if he needed to. We could rotate our props around enough that Matty Lees does a stint at 13. Origi Parsi's done it in the past. It's definitely one that you can't be 100% sure of what is going to happen on Friday, because we, at least now, even though we're missing our two wingers or our two first choice wingers, we're still strong. We still have a strong enough team to go and take on Hull KR.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously these comments might come back to bite us spectacularly late on Friday evening. But as we sit now with the squad we have, I mean, a year or so ago, you might be thinking, like, we've lost our wingers, so we're bringing in T. Ritz and John Bennison. And I mean, no disrespect to the guys, but who we have available this weekend are probably stronger KR squad. I mean, they're obviously missing their two frontline props, I would say, as well, and Warrior Hargreaves and Sue. So that says to me that our forwards should be licking their lips to get in about the Hull KR pack. Now, Hull KR, you know, their success hasn't solely been built on flashy, exciting rugby. Look how they won the Challenge Cup. They can roll their sleeves up, get in an arm wrestle, and win ugly, as sometimes you have to do. So it'd be doing them a disservice to say otherwise. However, without those two big units, we really should be going after their pack. Now, I'm not saying that we will definitely get the better of them and that our pack is definitely better than theirs. So don't hate on me, KR fans. All I'm saying is you're missing your two most influential props. A lot of experience there, a lot of bulk, a lot of kind of know-how. And our guys really should be looking to try and lay a platform and kind of try and get on top of them, try and win the physical battle, try and win, you know, the kind of contact area, get more meters, win the kicking game, try and control a bit of territory, put KR under pressure after how they played last week. They will be looking to recover because they were, by their own high standards, pretty awful. So they'll be looking to right that wrong. But if we can put them under pressure, it might put some doubt in their mind at the business end of the season, and that's what we perhaps should be looking to do here, really turn up the heat, particularly up front, and take the fact that we don't have our three first-choice wingers available to us, take that out of the equation, win the forwards battle, and then you should have enough to win the match. Easier said than done, of course, but...
I mean, you'd nearly talk me into it then, Peter. As you say, that the whole KR reaction after getting beaten by Leeds is going to be an interesting one, especially with losing the two props, as you rightly mentioned. I think last time we went over there's been bits of our performances that I've been disappointed with, but as a whole, I feel that last time we went over to Hull KR was possibly one of the most disappointing because, they're a miles better team than us. They are, by league table standards, the best team in the league. Absolutely love them for it, and rightly so. But I feel like we didn't do ourselves justice. And this is one of those games, isn't it, that, as Paul Wellens says about our ability to turn possession and pressure into points, this is one that is absolutely key. Getting into this business end of the year, these 3 games in a row, with all due respect to Castleford as the fourth, this is when you've got to start putting these words into actions, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it last week as well. These next 3 games will tell us a lot about this Saints team. You know, we have to be, to use an old expression, up for it. We've got to be up for this battle. I'd look at win this match in terms of the level of importance. It will define the season for me. If we go there and we play well, and somehow we can come away with the 2 points, and it's a big if, because it's a hell of a difficult place to pick up results. They're a wonderful, passionate set of supporters. They create a great atmosphere over there, so I tip my hat to them. And I think in a lot of ways they deserve the success their team's having, because they've been in the doldrums. They've seen a painful relegation and have fought back from that. And Willie Peters has built a fantastic team there. So I've got nothing but praise for KR. But it will be interesting to see how they deal with the pressure of being favourites to win the whole comp. Last year they were kind of seen as the kind of up and coming young upstarts, trying to take on the might of Wigan, and they came really close. But now they're the favourites, and sometimes that tag doesn't sit well on inexperienced shoulders. But I think we've got to go there and try and just beat them up in the middle. I think that's the way that we have to do it. They've still got a very good team. They've got some handy citizens in their back row. I've always rated Tanganoa and Hadley. I mean, he's worth his weight in gold. Can I have that one? Maybe no.
Yeah, all right. Well, Dave's not here. You can have that one.
It's true. So that's me finished. No more about that. But in all seriousness, they have got some handy citizens all over the pack. So they'll miss their two big pillars, if you like. But I think they'll share the workload amongst the rest of them. But it's percents, it's completing sets, kicking game. And as I say, this will define the season. We win this, and neck on the line, we win this, and Saints finish runners up. I think that will give them momentum, and that's the if we win the game, we will end up runners up. So that's my prediction.
Well, I'm going to ask you for a prediction, let alone finishing if we win the game. Prediction for Friday night.
Right. Well, my suspicion is, Kevin, you're going to go for us to have a narrow defeat. So, Mr. Optimism here. I've just got a feeling Hull KR might, again, thumbnail this KR fans, might be having a bit of a slump and having a tough time coming to the business end. I'm going to say Saints by 2, and I love it to be right, but it could go either way. But my prediction is Saints by 2.
Well, I want people to put their predictions based on mine in the comments with no other words. Just put a number in the comments. And what I want people to do is predict how many times on the way to Hull KR they mention Bramley Moor, the Hill Dickinson Stadium, and Jack Grealish, all as a combination. I'm going to go with a dozen. So I'm going with 12. So just put a number in the comments. If you've got this far, just put a number in the comments. Don't say anything else about it. But all he's got to do is mention that stadium and Jack Grealish, because that's on his Twitter feed. All he's done is share Bramley Moor doc, and he said how excited he is about seeing Jack Grealish. So listen, just put a number. I'm going for 12.
Now, can I just check? Is that 12 on the way there?
Just on the way there.
Right.
No, just on the way there.
Right. Just on the way. So maybe another 12 on the way back home afterwards.
Yeah. Well, I won't know about them because I'm half tempted to take a bag of cans with me so I can get through that and ignore him. As results, but not quite getting over the line. I'm going to go for Hull KR by 8.
Okay. Listen, I can understand that entirely because it's not a ridiculous opinion to or a kind of standpoint to look at, because previous games that would be the closest we've run them. I think it depends. For me, the result from a Saints perspective starts and ends with our pack. That's it. If our pack turn up, and they've got to be aggressive, they've got to work harder than they've ever worked this season before. We've got to be disciplined as well. We've got to just get over the top of our immediate opponent, set the platform, don't miss tackles, run hard, look for the offload, have a support runner beside the ball carrier. Because look what Leeds did last week. Leeds, for me, and Saints fans don't like praising Leeds too much, but their performance for me is the blueprint that we need to look at to beat KR. Leeds kept going and going. The pace of the game was great. The forwards were aggressive. They offloaded when it was on, and they kept them scoreless for 77 minutes. And it was an absolute toweling that they handed them. And if Saints we can play like that, we'll give ourselves a real chance of being in the argument come the end of the game. And perhaps my prediction won't look wildly optimistic. It might end up being on the money, but it starts and ends with the pack.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just about performance. This one, if we're in the game after an hour, and you know what, the better players kind of take the game away from us, fine. It goes back to what Dave keeps saying, that maybe our team isn't quite good enough. If that's what happens, then okay, I can live with that. What I can't live with is us starting the game slow, really taking the game away from ourselves.
Yeah. Don't leave there on Friday night with regrets.
Yeah,
that's it. We'll forgive a poor result if we've just come off and the players are blowing out their collective backsides, having given everything. That's all we're looking for.
Yeah. 100%. Right, Peter, we will leave it there. Thank you very much for joining me.
My pleasure.
I apologise to anyone who this has been very, very glitchy tonight for me. So hopefully it's a little bit better. If not, there's not very much we can do about it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we will catch you after the game on Friday from East Hall. See you later.